Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with this week's episode of the Market Monday. This week I am just going to do an overview video on Commander 2018 and potential investments surrounding the Commander 2018 decks, especially upgrades and commanders that are contained within the deck that then might be the most popular commanders to then build around. These are my favorite ones to go after. I think that they have the most potential because if a person is going to be running, say, Saheeli the Gifted, for example, they might just use the deck list, the Exquisite Invention, as the baseline of the deck and just make some small upgrades here and there. But if, like last year, and they decide to make Marseille the Pretender, which doesn't really work that great within the pre-constructed deck, you basically are going to find a player that's going to build from scratch, and there are a lot of targets that then are needed to buy to put into those decks and are going to go in basically 100% of those decks. And for me, those are the particular investments to invest in. Last year with Marseille especially, we saw cards like the Shaku Endbringer go crazy out of Mirage. There were a lot of cards that had abilities that you could use out of the graveyard, shot up in value, especially reserve list cards. And of course, those are the cards that you want to jump on. As it's usually about a month later, people get bored of these main commanders and they start looking for these other commanders. So we'll talk a little bit here. This is probably going to be a rambly video because I have a lot to go over. But this week, I'm going to, instead of do gameplay, no one seems to care about my gameplay anymore anyway on my channel. We're going to have a market week. We're going to have a Commander 2018 market week. And so I'm going to try to give you a video per day surrounding a topic with Commander 2018. There'll be more refined videos rather than just all over the place like these Market Mondays. So if you've liked the Rogue Market or the analysis ones in the past, we'll try to do those particular videos for this week. So again, tightening your belts. This is going to be a kind of rambly talk about a lot of topics concerning the 2018. So, for example, we're talking about Marseille. I think the card that's going to come out the gates as one of the more popular ones to play around is going to be this Yuriki the Tiger Shadow, which is a 3-mana, 1/3 commander ninjutsu. Whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage, a player reveal the top card of your library and put that card in your hand. Each opponent loses life equal to that card's converted mana cost. I think this is just a duh card to invest in, as all of the ninjas that are not included in this deck, which actually there's not very many. In fact, I think it's just Ninja the Deep Hours, and yeah, that's the only one I can think of here that is a ninja. To build a deck from scratch, you're going to have to look for a lot of changelings and ninjas to work with the Yuriki the Tiger Shadow. So expect a lot of the Kamigawa block, anything that just has ninja in its title, to go up in value. And we'll be looking at that. That'll probably be the first video that I want to look at. So that's one of my first strategies, is to look at the commander decks and not really see what's there, but it's what's missing. And if I were to build a deck, what would I put in here? And really be ahead of those trends as the time goes forward with those particular commanders. So speaking of trends, there is this beautiful resource here that I think is very underutilized. This is TCG Player. If you actually just go and click on the search function here, then click to Magic the Gathering and weed out all the Yu-Gi-Oh! And other cards, you can then find cards that are being purchased. It gives you the best-selling options, sort products by best-selling. This is basically where they get their list every week to say the top 10 cards sold at TCG Player this week. They just look at this. They do the exact same thing that I'm doing. So instead of the top 10, you can go to the top 20, top 200, top bazillion to try to see or start to see some trends in the market. So I use this a lot. It used to be my daily routine where I'd come here to TCG Player, first go to like MTG Goldfish, look at the spikes, then go to TCG Players, then look at the cards that are actually starting to move. As you can still, if you see a lot of these cards, for example, we're going to get out of this commander here and I'll show you exactly how to do it. You can start to see a lot of movement trends in Pauper. I did this for Modern, Standard, and then of course Commander. There will be some good trends. So got a top 10 list after utilizing this of cards on TCG Player. Weeded out a lot of cards that were either like Standard or Legacy or Pauper or whatnot. And there's 10 cards that have a lot of movement here on TCG Player. And the interesting thing is, it seems to be following the trend on buy lists. These specific cards that are starting to be sold out of TCG Player must be sold elsewhere, and a lot of these vendors have increased their buy list. Now, a little bit of salt. I'm going to throw some shade here. Many of you may not appreciate it because when I seem to get kind of controversial like this, it rubs people the wrong way. But Southern Community College is a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite behind a hypocrite with his market videos that he makes, really attacking the MTG finance world when he is sponsored by far the biggest player in the Magic the Gathering community. I'm going to prove it with this video with Card Kingdom 9 being close to out of stock in particular cards. They are making sure they are stockpiling and increasing the price of their buy list to match TCG mid, as well as increasing their sell list to be about 50 to 100% above TCG mid. Now let me repeat that. They are selling cards for 100% over what is going for TCG mid. So when I hear Tulane Community College whining about how MTG finances the scum of the earth, where he just wants players to be able to buy cards for cheap, and then when dirty finance players and speculators get their hands on it, then prices go up, he really needs to point the finger at his sponsors, because his sponsors are by far the worst offenders of this. And in fact, I think they have way more to do. One big operations like Card Kingdom usually sets the bar, sets kind of the level of where the cards go. And when they increase their buy list, it makes places like Card Sphere go up in value. It makes TCG mid go up in value, because people use what's called arbitrage, where if they find something on TCG player that they can buy and then just go for under Card Kingdom's buy list, well, right then and there, it's going to rip away all those copies on TCG Player or eBay. And it just is so hypocritical and just makes me blue in the face, screaming at my computer screen when I see those types of videos about how, dirty speculators, especially when it's someone like me who buys cards. I mean, what is the difference between me and Card Kingdom? I have a brick and mortar store. I have a demand in my area. I sell cards for a living. Therefore, why is it bad when I do it, when I buy 36 needle drops, and okay when Card Kingdom buys 255 needle drops? It's just, like I said, just insanely hypocritical. And over time, that's what made me, that and other things, lose a lot of respect for the guy, and think that he's very jaded and very, very, just dishonest. Just with how or just dumb with exactly how the world works. Either way, it's just nothing to be proud of. So there's my little salt or my little shade for the day, and we'll look at those with Card Kingdom, for example. A little bit of an update of yesterday's video too. I did have a lot of people message me. There are a few other cards that seem to have some crazy increases in price before the commander was fully spoiled, and basically, there was no reprints in the Commander 2018, which was there was very, very, very few significant reprints. One of them being Enchantress's Presence, which mysteriously did not go up in buy list as the Commander sets were pre-spoiled before they were fully spoiled. So that's an interesting little one there. The most expensive reprint, Card Kingdom didn't decide to make a move on, like they did with Cyclonic Rift, or like they did on many of these other cards that I'll show you. So anyway, let's get to it. So you go here on TCG Player. If you click this little mark here, it will get you out of the whatever set that you went on. Let's go back here, though. I do want to show you. This is pretty good right now to be following. These are the cards that are being purchased in order here from top to bottom, left to right, of cards that are currently being pre-ordered by people on TCG Player. So it looks like Geode Golem is being pre-ordered faster than any other card. Then, of course, you just go down the list here, and you can see that the Eureka is the first legendary that people are pre-ordering quickly. So therefore, I think that's a huge sign too that this is going to be the deck that a lot of people try to build. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of people that are trying to break Eureka in Legacy. People think that it actually is playable in Legacy, which it does have a very easy ninjutsu of just 2 mana and has a draw. So any sort of like Wasteland Lock type deck, draw go type strategies or actually not draw go, more like tempo strategies that have been very, very popular in Legacy for quite some time, and also have any sort of ETB or Cascade type abilities, could definitely use Eureka to, you cascade a card in, then you can get it back with the ninjutsu, return it to your hand, and get value off of when the ninja, Eureka itself hits, then you get to get that card and make your opponent lose life. So keep in mind, this could be a Legacy playable card, and that probably has a lot to do with it. The next legendary card is going to be the Brutaclad, the Telcor Engineer, which people are creature tokens you control have haste. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create a 2/1 artifact creature token. You choose a token you control. If you do, each other token becomes a copy of that token. So that's going to be the next one that people are building around. And then the Araxmithus, Slumbering Isle. So you can, again, follow these trends. They're gonna lead you to a lot of the sales and a lot of the price increases. So let's go ahead here and click this search button up here. And then we're going to weed out, we're just going to weed into Magic the Gathering. And if you just scroll down this list, so right off the bat, Vinemare, Militia Bugler, Thorn Lieutenant, Beaumont Courier, Reliquary Tower is just low at the moment. It's a commander staple. I don't think that these commander sets are necessarily driving the price up. Gigantosaurus, Nimble Instructionist is kind of neat, but you can see this is probably people buying into this card as a few modern decks played every now and again, and it's just a low point to get into. So the Master Thopterist has a standard deck, Citrus Supplier. Supreme Phantom is in one of the most popular modern decks. You get the idea. So it will take a while before you actually start to find some cards that are commander specific. Well, I did that work for you. The first one that shows up is World Shaper. So World Shaper is so far being bought out, or not bought out, but being purchased the most from TC Player. And lo and behold, you come over here to the Card Kingdom buy list, and the Card Kingdom buy list is buying it for 52 cents. Let me get rid of my little image here so you can actually see that. I apologize for... let's get rid of this image. There it is. So Card Kingdom is actually buying this for 52 cents. And if you go back up to TC market price, again, 55 cents is what it's currently selling at. So Card Kingdom has increased the price of World Shaper from the 55-cent market price up to $1.30. So effectively doubling the cost of World Shaper of their own. Yeah, and if you come over here, they have plenty in stock. So it's not like that they're running out of stock and need to refill. They are speculating on this card. They are anticipating that this card is going to be purchased. That's exactly what speculation is. There's not any sort of evil conspiracy behind it. You're trying to buy stuff before everyone wants to buy it. Therefore, you can be ahead of the spikes and then sell it for a premium. And that's exactly what Card Kingdom is doing right here. So World Shaper is the first one. This has gone up in value from the market price up to $1.30 on Card Kingdom, and it is moving up very, very quickly. If we come up over here to World Shaper in TCG Player and click on it, we'll click here, and the copies are currently, there is a lot still, 56 cents. So there's a ton of them here for Card Rush. So here's a very, very good idea of how arbitrage works. So say that Card Kingdom increases so they're at 52 cents. Say they put this up to 60 cents. That's a decent little payday if you can come over here to Card Rush, get free shipping over 25 cents. Say that they'd have to be buying it for a little more, but 60 cents is still 4 cents a piece. Yes, 65 copies at 4 cents a piece. You make a couple bucks here and there. You do that with a gazillion cards, or even if you get a little bit higher arbitrage there, then you can make out a pretty little penny. But what is definitely going to happen is the market's going to get outstretched by these people buying these cards. 56 cents is going to be the cheapest one. The next one, 58, 59, 62. They see Card Kingdom is at $1.29, and they decide to shop at TC Player until it matches kind of the Card Kingdom and whatnot. But it seems to have plenty of pages here. One of the reasons I do like Ixalan is for this very reason, though. Rivals of Ixalan and Ixalan, it doesn't seem there's a lot of cards out there in stock. It just seems like it must have been a very dismally selling set, especially when we get to the next card. You can see that basically a standard-ish card and a very, very popular commander card. But I mean, this is definitely outclassing the very popular commander cards like Torment of Hailfire from previous sets. And we'll get to that card here, which is Wayward Swordtooth. So Wayward Swordtooth is currently the second most sold card on TCG Player that works in these commander decks, and that I think is specifically for commander. There might be a little bit of pressure from Wayward Swordtooth for the green stomp decks, but I don't think green stompy decks want it in standard, as they already have two to three really powerful, even 3 to 4. Ronus, Jade Light Ranger, and the Steel Leaf Champion, I think, hit that slot better and get the Galta activated a lot better than the Wayward Swordtooth does. So I think Wayward Swordtooth is mostly from Commander, and you can see there's this little bump here, and Card Kingdom has it up to the $7 mark. So the market price right now for TCG is $4.70, and Card Kingdom has increased that up to about the $7 mark. Again, if you come over and click on the Card Kingdom, they have plenty in stocks, both in the foil and in the non-foil, and so again, they are making a move. So the Wayward Swordtooth and the World Shaper give us a little bit of a insight on which deck people are most excited to build around, and it's going to be the Jund Commander. If we come over here and look at what the Jund Commander does, it definitely works with lands. We saw Gitrog Monster spike up because of Lord Windgrace. It is a 5-mana spell for 5 loyalty. Discard a card, then draw a card. And if land is discarded this way, you draw an additional card. So you can see how World Shaper and Wayward Swordtooth both are very, very good cards for the Lord Windgrace. The World Shaper, when it dies, you get all your lands back that you discarded. The Wayward Swordtooth allows you to play an additional land and give you more fodder to then discard and then draw more cards. So it's a very, very potent little combo there. And yeah, exactly. So it'll allow you to have a lot of value off of all the lands for drawing extra lands and then allowing you to pitch extra lands. So it works with the lands matter types theme. So then the other, return up to 2 target land cards in your graveyard to the battlefield is the -3, destroy up to 6 target non-land permanents, then create 6 2/2 green cat creature tokens with Forest Walk. And then, yep, Lord Windgrace can be your commander. So apparently that's the most movement right now in the market, is 2 of the cards that are out of the Ixalan, or actually both out of Rivals of Ixalan, being the World Shaper and the Wayward Swordtooth. Then we go on to the next card, which is Storm the Vault, which is funny that most of these have been standard. And I think it's because they've been undervalued right now. So Storm the Vault, this one is definitely in here for the Saheeli deck, as most of the Breya, Saheeli, Jora of the Weatherlight, they definitely do like Storm the Vault. Storm the Vault says whenever 1 or more creatures you control deals combat damage to a player, create a colorless treasure artifact token with sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana. At the beginning of your end step, if you control 5 or more artifacts, you transform it, and then you add a blue. The land allows you to add a blue for each artifact to your mana pool, so it becomes into the Tolarian, whatever the old Tolarian land is. But anyway, so Storm the Vault is perfect in a Thopter-based deck because you're going to have a Thopter that's going to be attacking in and getting you that treasure token, and very easy to flip the Storm the Vault and then have a ton of mana. So this is another one that is creeping up here. Card Kingdom is up to $1.30, and the TCG market price again is half of what Card Kingdom is, so you can tell that movement is there. The fourth card right now is the Gitrog Monster. This one has already shot up like crazy because it's the first mythic on our list. So we go from $3.50, and it's all the way up to $11. You can see that, of course, this spike was mostly created by Card Kingdom, already upping their sale to $10. Their buy list is all the way up to $6.50. You can see that the spike really increased after that from $3.50. I'm sure the buy list was increased. And I think I looked over here, and I do not believe they were up. This one does look like an attempt to restock. So someone got ahead of this and bought out Card Kingdom. I don't know where their sale price of it was, but you can see that they are trying to now restock and get in on the Gitrog action as players buy this card for their commander decks. So then we go on to the next one, which is another mythic of the most cards sold, and this is Omnath, Locus of Rage from Battle of Zendikar, and it's still at the $1.68, but you can tell, looky here, Card Kingdom is now up to the $4, so it's over double the market price. It's funny how the mid is actually lower than the market price. This just means that there are a couple copies of one-ofs that cannot be sold because you have to create a $2 cart with TCG Player, and those particular buyers must not have something they can actually increase the cart to a reasonable price so you can actually check it out. So there will be some kind of dead copies, a lot of pages full of dead copies at under that $2 mark that are hard to check out. But you can tell. Look at the movement for Omnath, which is kind of crazy because Omnath was already a very popular commander deck to begin with. But you can see how popular these pre-con decks are when they are printed. That they can make cards that are very, very popular commanders spike up in value. Same with Gitrog Monsters, one of the the top 50 commanders of all time. Same with Omnath, both of those, and they never really moved anywhere until pre-con decks wanted them, and then boom, they jump up. In fact, Omnath and Gitrog might end up being more popular than the Lord you know, in 2-3 years. We'll have to wait and see, which is just crazy, though, that how many casuals are going to buy these precons and play them. One of my, little bit of a sidetrack here, is one of my complaints about Commanders. I think one of the huge experiences of Commander is building your own deck, and so I hate precons, just as personally, for the spirit of Commander. Oh, I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. I refuse to play with them. And usually I try to find obscure commanders to build because no one else has done that. I guess it goes kind of with the rogue style. So anyway, Omnath, though, is on the movement path. You can see the buy lists have been increased. Let's check to see if they have any still left in stock. They still have out of stock here and do have some that are EX. So, man, Card Kingdom's making a bank here if they're able to sell them for $4, while TC Mid is still less than half of that. Another thing you can look over here, too, is if you come over to these particular cards, customers who also have bought these cards as well. This will give you a little bit of insight too. Right now, it still seems to be looking like, you know, people have bought these cards for other decks in the past that have used this kind of self-mill, self-dredge type effect. But pretty soon, I'm sure these will be replaced with Jund cards. A lot of these Jund cards that are going to be, you know, throwing Gitrog into the Windgrace. So Omnath, again, you can look over here, and there might be some interesting cards that can also go in those type of deck. It's all about gathering as much data as possible. And with casuals, they tend to feed off of each other. So the first things that are posted at EDH Rec are usually going to just set the base for the decks in the future, which is why I always laugh. They like when people started building Scarab God right off the bat, they made Scarab God tribal, like zombie tribal, and I always thought that was the worst way to build it. That a self-mill strategy or even a control shell strategy is a much better way, because you can utilize, you know, any card in the graveyard. You're not just stuck to zombies. But I mean, that's a story for another day. But that's one of the biggest problems that have plagued me in the past, is looking at cards, evaluating cards, or evaluating market trends based upon my own personal, just how I would play the game. And you need to actually step aside and just think how the casual player will play the game. Arena is a little bit telling how many cat decks run around, or how many you know, zombie decks run around, or all these like feel good decks to them, to the casual player, which never going to see the competitive light of day just because they just don't match up well. Yet that doesn't stop a bazillion players, a bazillion bronze rated players on Arena from actually, you know, playing these decks, because that's what they like to do. Commander's kind of the same thing. Don't get stuck on, oh, is this competitive? Is this good? Who cares? If casual players want to buy it, they're going to buy it, and they're going to not even think twice about if it's the best option for that deck. Anyway, moving down this list, though, here's a juicy one at the moment. This one is Higure, the Stillwind. In fact, this probably is a little bit higher because both of these copies hit the top 10 list. So all three hit the top 10 list. The Planechase Anthologies, the Planechase 2012, and the Betrayers of Kamigawa version. All of them, you can already tell that this Betrayers of Kamigawa has massively spiked up the foil price from $7.50 all the way up to $40. As it is a ninja, also can give target ninja unblockable. So every deck that is going to be built of the ninja is going to want the Higure the Stillwind. I think these are very undervalued if you're looking for cards to buy right now. Either any of these versions of the Planechase Anthologies, the Planechase 2012, versions at $1, I think are definitely a bargain. If we come over here, Card Kingdom again is double the value of the TCG market, and so they're definitely making the move. So check off all those boxes. This card is definitely seeing movement. Since we've been doing it, let's go ahead and check Card Kingdom. They are 100% out of stock of this particular card, or they've just completely put it out of stock. Sometimes they do this. Both Card Kingdom and Starseed Games are notorious for taking things out of stock while they to not sell them at a price point they don't want to sell them, or increase the price because they still want to get a decent buy list from them. So they, you know, keep it low and then fill back up, and then this will be jacked up to something like $7. You mark my words, you're going to see some crazy for Higure the Stillwind. Going down, we have the next one, which is also a standard card from Dominaria. This is the Mending of Dominaria. This is part of the top so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're up down to 7. This is the 7th most sold card for Commander-related cards. The doesn't look like there's any movement in the foil. I think the foil especially is a good a good target right now, because, you know, foil mythics, even Dominaria, they're not that common. So this is a good buy at the moment. and the regular one is 45 cents and hasn't been gone up, and Card Kingdom has not increased their buy list for the Mending of Dominaria. That just shows you how much Dominaria was open compared to something like Ixalan. So nothing special there, but I do think this is oh, this isn't a mythic, it's just a rare. Why was I thinking this was a rare? Oh well. Foil rare is still either one of these pre-release promos or the regular. I still think is a pretty good buy. This is especially good for the Lord, as all the modes are very, very good for that particular deck. As even putting the top 2 cards and you need a -3 to put it directly into play that turn, you could definitely utilize the first 2 of the sagas. It's going to end up putting 4 cards in your graveyard, returning 2 creatures, and then returning all your lands from your graveyard to the battlefield. So very, very synergistic with the Jund Commander. All right, so the next one, Sterling Grove. This one was pointed out to me that this buy list was increased before the spoilers. So we can look at Card Kingdom has the buy list as $8. And apparently, I can't confirm this though. Someone did tell me though that this was increased, the buy list for it. They have no in stock at the moment, and selling them out at $12. Sterling Grove has shot up all the way to $10. This was another one that should have made you scratch your head that it wasn't included in the Bant Enchantment decks, because I know they want to get away from the Shroud. They want to go more over to Hexproof, but this just seems like a common that had such a high price tag. Before it was around $8. Usually this is on the short list of cards that are going to be reprinted. In fact, if we check EDH Rec, come over here for the Sterling Grove. I think this is Stirring Groves? Is that what it's... Okay, what the hell is this? Sterling! Hey, Kevin can't spell. Sterling Grove. It's right here on my screen. I can't even do it. Sterling Grove is played in 5,699 decks. You come over here by color and multicolored, and I thought they let you do it by... well, we can do it by enchantments, multicolored. Well, it doesn't look like Sterling Grove is hitting anywhere in this first bit of it, but I do know it is a very, very... there's another one, Dueling Grounds. That's another one I don't think got reprinted. There's Sterling Grove. There on the bottom there, it's in 10% of decks, of Celestia decks. So it does hit this little first page of it, but yeah, it is quite far down there. It is a very, very powerful card in Commander, and it does seem to be selling quite a bit as it's our 8th on the list. The Invasion foil is just obscene. Look at this, $50. This is spiked. Looks like it's been $50 before, but it's been usually around the $30 mark, and then boom, just spiked up in value. All right, so 2 more to go. These are both still pretty juicy. This one's Multani. Multani, the Dominaria Multani. Yavimaya's Avatar. It is starting to see a little, you can start to show a little bit trend up. Card Kingdom is a little bit higher. This is pretty normal though than the TC player market price. It's still about $1 more. And the foils, let's see if the foils have started to see movement. They're still pretty flat. So this one I'm pretty iffy on. I'm not sure if the casual players are going to adopt this as but it does allow you to return 2 lands you control to their owner's hand, or return Multani from your graveyard to your hand. So if you mill it, Multani through other methods, you can then get it back. And then if you are playing like additional lands per turn, it's a way for you to then return. And it gets +1 for each land you control and each land card in your graveyard. So a commander that does pitch stuff to the graveyard will just pump up Multani. And again, I don't know if this one will continue the trend of being purchased. It could also just be that people are speccing into it, that it might be a decent card post-rotation. I don't know if I agree with that. It does have, a bit of value. I played against it in Constructed. It can get very, very big, especially with the reach and trample, giving it relevant modes. Like you can block Nicol Boluses, it can block Glory Bringers, and if that 5/5 dragon ends up being a pretty decent card post-rotation, or Nicol Bolas, or just dragons in general, this might be an answer. So that could have a little bit to do with it, but this to me is a little bit telling too, this last little tick up here, that is starting to see more movement because of Commander. Either way though, this might make a pretty decent investment. Last but not least, definitely not least, this is a common. This is the Mistblade Shinobi from the Betrayers of Kamigawa. Now, I think this will be one of the better ones for Legacy if a ninja deck does take off, because it's a very low ninjutsu of 1, and it has a decent little ability to bounce a creature. So in a tempo-based strategy, this is what you want to do. You can turn back someone's, I was going to say Deathrite Shaman, but that card got banned. But you can bounce back opponent's creature. Even a young Pyromancer isn't bad at that point. And then get the trigger off of your, whenever ninja does damage, draw a card, and make your opponent lose a life. And so it's one of the, as far as ninjas are concerned, it's one of the cheaper ninjutsus, cheaper cost, relevant ability, and it definitely could see a 4 of if it does see a Legacy play in that particular deck. I don't know, there might just be a better Changeling at that point, but who knows if you actually do want another ninjutsu card, or if your commander, or the commander card is just enough as a 4 of in that Legacy deck. But anyway, this will be a card that is going to be in that particular commander deck that was not included, and every deck will need to purchase. So there's a lot of movement here. It doesn't seem like the card Kingdom has increased its buy list yet. It does exist in Planechase and Planechase Anthologies, and for whatever reason, it seemed to have a spike down right now. And it's been at $2.50. We'll see what's going on here with it. Oh, it just looks like mid. Probably has it unpurchased. Oh, you know what? It might actually be out of stock completely. There just might not be any in. Yeah, if TC Mids is $1.71 and then market price is $2.60, that means everyone's bought it up to $2.60. Let's go over here to foil. See, everything makes sense when you start to look at that. A lot of times just, yep, there's none in stock right now, even that $1.71. There is a whopping 1 for $9.99 plus shipping from this extra point game. So if you have any foils of that particular card, it's time to look to selling them. So anyway, I think we've gone long enough for this Market Monday. This will be a market week. This will be sort of the way that I'm going to be doing this, with a lot less rambling. I'll probably do it in the top 10 fashion that you've seen me do before. I might actually revive the market. Like there was a rogue market analysis that I used to do an image for, and then talk about and then show data for those cards. We might do a couple of those. Usually I do those with rotating cards to give you kind of an analysis of what cards to spec into for rotation for Modern and Commander, and just give it a rating for cards. Because that's usually like where I like to make my investments, is rotation. And you do have to wait a while, but I mean now it's a huge payday for me for Cyclonic Rifts and Dictative Ereboses and cards that I did this for when they hit their bottoms when they rotated. And you get into them. So if you believe Magic is going to be around for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, that's always a great time to buy into is rotating cards when they're out of standard. And I think that we're going to have a lot of juicy ones from Kaladesh and our Devastation blocks. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let's go over really quickly the top 10 most selling cards right now on TCG Player regarding Commander. We have World Shaper at 1, Wayward Swordtooth at 2, Storm of the Vault at 3. All those standard cards, none of them are rotating, all from the Ixalan block. Then we have Gitrog Monster, recently rotated. Omnath, Locus of Rage, same thing here. The Higure, the Stillwind, old card, but it was in Planechase. The Mending of Dominaria, currently still in Standard. Sterling Grove, that's an old card, very expensive, very hard to come by. Multani, Yavimaya, Avatar, and Mistblade Shinobi. Again, I'll go over a detailed list. We'll do a top 10 for most of the commanders. Maybe we'll start with the Ninja next day. If you are like a Card Sphere, if you are a Puka Trader, if you are anything, these are the cards I would start putting on the list and start being more aggressive with these particular cards. Maybe you can get some trades out of the way before those Card Sphere or Puka algorithms catch up, or price data catches up, and you can make a nice little trade there. And we hope you enjoyed this. This has been Kevin with Rogue Deck Builder for the Market Monday. Thanks for watching.